Next up, it is my sincere pleasure to introduce you to a friend, Van Hardenbergh. Van is a VMI man, and he is here in Virginia. Not only is he an attorney, but he's also an accomplished author, public speaker, and he is also a veteran, having served as a Special Assistant United States Attorney as well. He is an instructor teaching criminal law, and he is going to speak to us today about something very near and dear to me. You know, I'm a huge supporter of the freedom of speech and access to all government records in terms of the Freedom of Information Act. We are blessed in that Virginia does have a robust Freedom of Information Act. Periodically, though, you know how bureaucrats are. Sometimes they play games with our freedom of access to these records. But it's my honor and my pleasure to introduce you to Van Hardenbergh. He's going to be speaking to you a little bit today about something called Free the Data. I'm so excited to have you hear what he has to say. Van, thank you so much, and thank you for your sacrifice and your service to our great nation. Thank you for joining us this morning. We are live in the studio.
Good morning, Martha. Thank you so much. It is wonderful to be here with you on the show.
You know, I was hoping you could tell us a little bit about this new technology that's out there. I am so excited about it because having access to information is just so critical. And I know so many Americans, so many Virginians often feel like the government makes it more difficult than it should be to obtain access to not only their personal information, but their family members' personal information and so forth.
Sure. That's a big deal. And actually, that has been in the news, and it's been a subject that they've been talking about in the General Assembly a lot this year. There is a major problem with Virginia's courts database. And the issue is that when you go on the Virginia Courts database to try and look up somebody to find out whether they have a history of criminal offenses, it is practically impossible for you to get a comprehensive view of their statewide record. And that is only because their search function only allows you to search court by court. So if you want to look up somebody and find out what kind of criminal record they are, you have to start with one court and go through all 135 or so general district courts, and then you have to do 135 searches in Virginia Circuit Court. So it takes forever.
Well, that shouldn't be the case. I mean, don't our tax dollars pay for the government to have collected this information and make it available online?
Absolutely. All of that data that the government collects is paid for by taxpayer dollars, and we are absolutely 100% entitled to those records. The problem is that if you want to get copies of them, it's very inconvenient. You either have to go to the individual courthouse and ask for a copy, or if you're looking on the state's online database, as I said, it is strictly a court-by-court search. So that has been a big barrier that has kept citizens of Virginia from being able to make effective use of the data that we've already purchased and belongs to us.
Well, absolutely. And, you know, this is something that not only can lawyers have access to, but also, you know, everyday hardworking Virginians that need this information for various things. Like, for example, let's say you want to hire a babysitter for your newborn baby or your children, and you just want to make sure that there isn't anything criminally out there that we would give you second thoughts, perhaps, about hiring somebody to take care of your children.
Absolutely. That's a great example. Obviously, parents do not want to let somebody be around their child if that individual is dangerous and has a history of dangerous conduct. And really the only way to find out is to check their court records. That used to be, as I said, a long process. But fortunately, I've been lucky to have some very good IT resources in my business that have allowed me to do a statewide search function. And at first, the reason that I needed them to code this solution is because people would call my office all the time after they had been charged with some sort of violation. But frequently, they did not know where they had been charged. And for us, that's always the starting point with any case. We've got to find out where their trial's going to be and which courthouse we're dealing with and, you know, which judge is probably going to be sitting so we can prepare for their case. And so the database was very helpful for me because every time a defendant called in with a case, all I had to do was ask their name and put it in the database, and immediately all the cases for defendants with that last name would come up, and I could easily click on their case and find the case that they were discussing and figure out how to help them. But I thought about what a great resource that was, and really, Martha, it was mostly just going to waste because there were so many people throughout Virginia, not just other lawyers, but folks with children, like you mentioned, also any person who has a home that they're considering renting to somebody, either as a long-term tenant or just as an Airbnb type situation, anybody who is considering hiring someone in their business, anybody who is considering a relationship with somebody that they've recently met should have the right to look at the Virginia criminal records that their tax dollars have paid for. And so what we did was basically we just opened up our database and made it free to the general public so that anybody can check on someone's records.
That's fantastic. Now, how can Virginians access this information? Is there a website where they can go and test drive it and have access to it?
Yes, we made that very quick and free. That database is at vcopsdb.com. That's V as in Virginia, cops as in the police, and DB as in database.com. So if you go to vcopsdb.com, you can just register with an email, and the next thing you know, you can just put in a name in the system, any name, any person, and find out what kind of record they have in Virginia.
Right, and I think we had, when we had spoken about this earlier, most people, the first thing they do is they research their exes, and then themselves, and then maybe, their neighbors, coworkers. That
Absolutely.
kind of thing.
Yeah, the first thing people always do when they get into the system, they always look up their ex and their enemies and find out, what they've been up to and whether those poor folks have gotten into trouble. And a lot of times they're also looking up coworkers or people that they know. But the bottom line is that is the quickest and easiest way that I know of to really get a good picture as to somebody's criminal conduct and their behavior and what kind of history they have.
Now, I guess all of the contact information would be on the website, www.vcopsdb.com?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And then you're an attorney. You've been practicing for some time. I'm not going to give away your age, but you've been practicing for some time, and you specialize in a variety of fields. And I know that, the criminal justice system is very complicated and often hard to figure out, if you will, for folks that sometimes find themselves in unfortunate circumstances. And I guess one of the things I was going to ask you is, what is the most common criminal issue that you find in your office for Virginia drivers? Like, what's the most common issue that you have clients come in and ask you to represent them for?
Hands down, the biggest deal in Virginia is our reckless driving law. We have the strictest speed limit in the entire nation. And folks a lot of times will be completely unaware that any speed over 80 miles an hour in Virginia can get you convicted of reckless driving. Now, reckless driving is a big deal because it's a Class 1 misdemeanor, and that basically is the most serious level of crime before you get into felonies. So other Class 1 misdemeanors would include things like, shoplifting, drunk driving, marijuana, and that kind of thing.
And I guess we have about 3 minutes left. Can we talk a little bit about the state's marijuana laws? Because, as you know, marijuana has been decriminalized in different parts of the country, and we had to fight very hard in the Virginia General Assembly to have hemp legislation passed. And as you know, our parts of our Constitution were written on hemp, and there was a bit of an educational process involved because you can't become high from hemp. In fact, it's actually would kill off marijuana plants, as I understand it, if it's planted near them. And you know how difficult it was for us to even get hemp legislation to be considered as a study. I took, I believe, about 8 years for consideration. And hemp is a wonderful renewable product. You can build buildings out of it. You can make parts of vehicles out of it. You can make clothing out of it. It's an incredibly strong product. What is the law on marijuana in Virginia? A lot of our listeners don't know. And just we only have a few minutes, and then I'm going to ask you how our listeners can get in touch with you if they need to reach you, if they have a criminal issue, or they have any follow-up questions.
Sure. Marijuana obviously is a big subject in the news nationwide. There are a lot of changes that are taking place, and unfortunately, Virginia is still a little bit behind the power curve when it comes to marijuana. We do not have any medical marijuana statute that is effective, and of course, all of the recreational market is going to the cartels. But we actually have had some pretty good progress in the last few years. I believe there's a bill that's currently pending in the General Assembly that would legalize certain cannabis-derived oils. And of course, our new governor, Ralph Northam, has clearly made some policy pronouncements that he is going to be taking a different tack on this. And obviously, he's well qualified to do that because he is a legitimate medical doctor with some experience and could probably speak to those issues better than the average ordinary citizen.
Got it. Now, Van, you have a thriving practice. You're highly sought out. You speak all over the place about various topics. How can listeners get in touch with you? Can you give them a phone number and a website where they can reach you?
Sure. My website is vanhardenbergh.com. That's Van like Van Halen. And then Hardenbergh is kind of like concrete would harden, and then like Pittsburgh, but it's B-E-R-G-H, so vanhardenbergh.com. And then, of course, if they really have a serious problem and they need to get in touch for a resolution on a criminal charge, the best way is just to call right on up. The toll-free number is 1-866-VAN-WINS.
Great. Well, Van, real fast, I know you have a charity that's near and dear to my heart. Just real fast, if you could just let folks know about it in like maybe a half a second, and then we are going to go to a break, ladies and gentlemen. We have a rock star list of guests that will be on the show very soon, and we don't want you to miss any of them.
Thank you. Our charity is called Rock Band Van, and basically it's a mobile stage that is set up for the video games Rock Band or Guitar Hero, and we take that to children's hospitals or charitable events so that kids can have an opportunity to be a rock star for a night, no matter what their health condition is.
That is so cool. How cool is that?
Yeah, rockbandvan.com if you want to know more about that.
That's great. Thank you so much. Thank you for all you do in the Commonwealth of Virginia, for your clients, and also for this incredible charity. Folks, reach out to Van, and also I'm really excited about this database.
Thank you, Martha. You are a superhero. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.